Hello, how's everyone doing today? It is Berkfamily54comics. I am Steve. This is our weekly Thursday night chat. We're going to be talking 3 comic books tonight, 1 DC, 1 Marvel, 1 independent book. Before I talk about what books those are, I would like to bring in my guest. The first one is one of the brothers from 2BrothersComics, and that is Dustin. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man? How y'all doing tonight?
We're good, man. How are you doing?
Ready? I'm doing good, man. Hope everybody's ready to talk some awesome books. I'm psyched for this one.
Hell yeah. All right, and the next guest we have, he's been joining me for about a couple months now, actually. And this is Ryan Pond, also known as New Guy. What's up?
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, it's been a crazy day. Pretty busy, but I got some awesome books read this week, and I'm excited to talk about them. So let's do that.
All right. We are going to be waiting for Nick to possibly join us. He is the other brother of 2BrothersComics. He's doing his dad duties right now. Totally respect that. So I'm just going to say really quickly, everyone, hi to everyone in the chat. We got Justin Rican in the comics. What's up, Rod? We got Warlord, Southern Comic Geek, Escargo T80. We got Karate Kevin from Superpower Review. We got Perry Comics. What's up, dude? I heard there was some brother here. And Southern Comic Geek says, I just rated his second and Charles and picked up Batman and TMNT Volume 1. Dude, that is the series that got me into comic book collecting along with Power Rangers issue 0 back in like 2015. So awesome.
I read Volume 3 of that. I've been looking for Volume 1, man. It's a good pickup.
Volume 1 is good. I'd say I'd rank him, honestly. Volume 3 is the best.
Okay.
Volume 1 and then Volume 2.
Okay.
Dollar Bin Fodder, hello. We got issues. What's up? Chiefs stole the Super Bowl. It was fixed. The refs cheat. When you lose, you can all the excuses you got. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. I won a Super Bowl for the first Super Bowl in 50 years. Woo! So I'm pretty pumped about that.
You won.
You know, Houston has a team that's like never won a Super Bowl in their entire existence. So
and they were up.
You're doing better than us.
They were up 24-0 on the Kansas City Chiefs, and then Chiefs rattled off 51 points compared to only 7 for for the Houston Texans. Chiefs won 51-31 in the playoffs. So that was awesome.
Nice.
Perry Comics went upside down, so that was 2 thumbs up. Whole set of individual issues, Eastman covers. Nice. Batman TMNT, yep. Haha. I just had a Super Bowl. Wow. What are you laughing about so hard over there?
Perry's comment there.
Yeah.
Golly.
Hey, what's up? Chino or Manny or both? What up,
Hey,
dude?
what's up?
All right. Houston wants World Series, and they really cheat. They did cheat. But that's a whole other discussion.
Not even going to try to lie about that because it did happen.
All right. Anyways, all right. So we always usually start off the show by showing off what comic books we got this week. Is there anyone that would like to go first?
I'll go first. I don't care.
All right.
Okay.
What's up, Mad Mike?
I was going to say, I think me and Dustin are going to take the most time. So
maybe I should go first then.
I don't know. I might be the quickest. Go ahead, man. It's your show.
I'll go first. I'm going to go full screen here. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying to win. No? All right. Ask Pete Rose. All right, here we go. I only got 2 books this week because I have what's called a small wallet. I decided not to splurge on a ton of variants or new comic books, though I'm currently reading online one of the books that we're talking about tonight. I'm going to continue reading while I show off their book. First book, obviously, you know I had to have Power Rangers TMNT number 3. This is the Michelangelo variant holding the Blue Ranger helmets. Pretty sweet. We'll be talking about this book tonight, along with a couple other ones. And then the next book I have is Batman 88. This is the Matina variant.
Yeah.
Catwoman on there. It's got Batman, and it's got the Penguin. And that's it. Those are the only books I got this week. We're going to go to Dustin from Two Brothers Comics to show off what books he got this week.
All right. So after this week, Burke said he's got what's called a small wallet. I've got what's called an empty wallet. I only got 3 books this week. I didn't even get to pick up everything I wanted to pick up. So I had to make some choices. I picked up Battle Cats #1, which I was super pumped about. And for those of you that were in our live stream earlier, we will be doing an interview soon with the creator of Battle Cat. So that's going to be cool, Mr. Mark London. I picked up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Power Rangers #3. And you guys are saying, what? Just cover A? Yes, just cover A. That's all I picked up, guys.
Bull crap. You missed off the whole lot?
I picked up all the covers again. And if you want to see those covers, I'm not showing them to you on here. You got to go watch the video.
Okay. Did you do it on the live stream or did you make a video?
No, we have an edited video up. It's on our channel right now, Two Brothers Comics. And I show every single cover that came out this week. I picked up all of them, even the first and the first issue and second issue, second prints. I picked those up as well. And then I also picked up Darth Vader #1. This is I think this is cover C. It's some kind of incentive cover. I was able to pick this up for cover price, so I picked this up, and I also got cover A. So I wanted to pick up Savage Avengers, Batman 88, but and that Spider Hulk I almost wanted to pick up, but I'm gonna pick the other 2 up next week.
Cool. Nice. Is that it? All right. Dustin spanking his Green Ranger. What?
Oh, and actually smacked my mic.
All right. We're going to go to Ryan Pond, also known as New Guy, for his haul this week.
Yeah. So I'm just going to start with I'm doing some research for a video I'm supposed to be recording this weekend with somebody. So I got some back issues, Deceased #1, Mr. Miracle #1, and Immortal Hulk #1. 2 of those I was able to get from Chino and Manny's shop, so that was awesome. They were able to come through. Their store manager, Steven, awesome guy. Such an awesome guy. Like, I just hit him up on a message. I was like, hey, do you have these back issues? And he pulled them and held them for me. So that was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So as far as current issues, I picked up Ant-Man #1 because I heard there's some pretty crazy reveals in this one. And I have a friend, he doesn't read comics, but he's a pretty big Ant-Man collector. So I'm probably going to read this and then pass it off to him to add to his Ant-Man memorabilia collection. And then, of course, I had to get the Usagi Yojimbo #8 that came out this week because it's Usagi. How could you not? And then I also got the main cover and the Virgin variant for TMNT PR that we're talking about tonight. So I picked up a couple of other issues that came out last week and stuff, but those are the big things that I got this week. So that's what I'm excited for.
Awesome. Southern Comic Geek wants to ask you this question. If the new guy keeps coming on, will he still be the new guy?
Yes. Quick story. The reason I got that name is because whenever I first went to college, I moved into an apartment that had 3 people that had already been in school and living together for a while. So instead of learning my name, they would just refer to me as the new guy. And so that's how I picked up that name. And I feel like I move through groups often enough that I'm always the new guy. So that's kind of why it stuck.
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. All right. Before we dive into the books we're talking about tonight, I do want to say that I did win something tonight over at Two Brothers Comics on their live stream. They were giving away 3 slabs. Thank you, Ryan.
It's been a big winning week for Burke this week. Super Bowl and Two Brothers Comics 100 subscriber giveaway. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And only one of those is slightly more important than the other. It's definitely the comics.
So they were giving away 3 slabs this week: a Killing Joke first print 9.4, a New Mutants 18.90, and a Rye number 196. And I did take second place, so I will get whatever's left. I do believe that the guy ahead of me did pick the Killing Joke.
Yep,
So I believe my next choice was the New Mutants. So that is the first appearance of Warlock. And I'm excited to get in my collection because I don't have any X-Men books in my collection. And it's going to be a slab. So that should be pretty awesome. I do know there were some people that were saying it's rigged. I don't know about that. But I was pretty excited to get it for sure. Who's some comic book hunter? Who's that?
So he is the guy that would have been third place had Maverick not gotten a hold of us.
Oh yeah,
sorry,
Maverick
man.
Get a hold of you.
Maverick actually got a hold of us about 10 minutes ago and let us know that he was picking up that Killing Joke. So sorry about that, brother.
You know, man, remember when I sold that Avengers Annual 10? That was the only X-Men book that I had in my collection that was slabbed, and I did sell it just because I'm not a big X-Men guy, but I'm excited to get this one. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and talk about what books we are talking about tonight.
So you're picking up New Mutants, you said?
Yeah, I'm getting a New Mutants 18.
Gotcha.
All right, so I have 2 out of the 3 books on hand, and then Dustin has the other one on hand that he's going to talk about. I did read one of them here online and just was finishing up. The books that we're going to be talking about tonight are obviously Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TMNT issue 3. We're also going to be talking about for our DC book. We went ahead and went back and freaking phone. We went back and we were going to talk about some DC Universe Rebirth. It was the one shot. I have it also right here. This is the third.
Oh, nice.
CGC 96. Obviously, that's my dude, Wally West, which is the best Flash. Obviously, the best Kid Flash as well. So I had this slab, and we'll be talking about that book for a DC book. And then we're also going to talk about Darth Vader, number 1 that came out this week. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're going to spend a whole bunch of money on books, you might as well get 2 covers for that too.
Yeah. Hey, it's worth it. Collect your way.
Collect your way. Let's see here. Superpower Review says, I remember getting crazy into DC Rebirth. It was cool for a while. Do you guys want to talk about that first? Or should we talk about Vader or TMNT Power Rangers? What are you guys into first?
We could do DC Rebirth first if I could kind of introduce that, I guess.
Okay, but before you introduce it, here's what I'm going to say. I have not read it in a while, but it is one of, in my opinion, the best single written comic book issues of all time. It is written by Jeff Johns, art by, I want to say, Gary Frank and Ethan Van Sciver. Amazing book. I've read it about 5 times. It's been a while since I actually read it. So I'm excited to see what Ryan, new guy, says about it because he just read it for the first time the other day. And this is the book that kicked off the DC Universe Rebirth titles about 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And it put in motion, the whole Dr. Manhattan and the Watchmen into the DC continuity. And it also just relaunched the whole brand. So, Ryan, as someone who just read it for the first time, what were your thoughts on it? Just overall thoughts, and then we'll talk about individual pages and all that.
My thoughts on it. To me, what made it as amazing as it was, because I think you are kind of already into Wally West, so that was already a hook for you. But I've seen a lot of stories of this style where they're trying to reboot a universe, or they're trying to introduce a million characters within a universe. And so what I think honestly makes this story so particularly good is that they focused on having one character tell a story and move through the universe, and therefore you introduce all these characters and what the state of the current universe is through one single character. And I think that's what made it good. Instead of like jumping narratives and everything else, is you just stick to one narrative, but you pick up all this information as you go along. And so for a single 86-page issue, this was an incredibly like concise and very tight story, and it made sense all the way through. And it leaves this lasting impression of where the universe is and where each of these characters are. And so I would say, as far as like reboots go, this is like a 10 out of 10 for a universe reboot.
Okay. All right. That is awesome to hear. I think I was the one who suggested it to you, possibly, to read that book.
Yeah, kind of. I wanted to get back into Flash after we read it. And so as I was trying to get back to the beginning of where the Flash that we're on started, that's how I ended up at Rebirth. But, you know, I remember you telling me, like, if you go back to the beginning of Rebirth, all of this makes sense. And so that's kind of what it, you know, drove me to get there.
Absolutely. And I will say, you know, the Flash is pretty much like the main person in this first book, obviously. You know, the entire story, I'm going to go full screen here real quick, is from Wally West's point of view. He was basically erased from existence in the DC New 52 line. And, you know, that is one character that Jeff Johns like really, really likes outside of obviously Barry Allen and the main Flash and also the Green Lantern. Those are the ones that he really likes. And he heard everyone's complaints about Wally West not being in the DC titles at the time. And when they decided to relaunch it with DC Rebirth, he decided to write it as, you know, a first person point of view from Wally West. And I don't know if you noticed this, Ryan. Also, Dustin, did you read this at all?
I haven't, but after you guys were talking about it, me and Nick are both definitely going to be picking it up and reading it.
Okay, no problem. I just want to dominate this conversation if you had something to say about it.
Oh, no, I'm just enjoying listening.
It is, so obviously, like I said, it is written from, you know, Wally West's point of view. And when I first read it, I did not know that. I just picked up the regular one, and I was like super stoked to read it. And you kind of know, like almost like right off the bat, that it's Wally West because, you know, all the boxes, go full screen here again, are red and yellow, mostly yellow because, it's, you know, as Kid Flash's colors are yellow and red. And at the very beginning, you kind of already know that it has the Watchmen in it because you got the clock there, which is a big thing for Dr. Manhattan. As a, you know, he always shows out at the time because he was wearing a watch when he, you know, basically became Dr. Manhattan. And, you know, we get this really cool page here where you got the lightning coming in. That kind of takes you back to Flashpoint with Barry Allen, where he went out in the storm and the lightning hit him again to give him his powers again. And then, you know, we see the Joker and Batman, and he's trying to basically Wally West. This is the best, one of the best pages in the entire book, where he finally reveals himself. He's trying to talk to Bruce. He talks to all these other people. He talks to Linda Park, which is his wife. If anyone remembers him, and no one does at first. And he is stuck in the Speed Force, so he needs someone to get him out of the Speed Force that remembers him. And finally, we do get a really, really awesome shot. Let me see if I can find it in here of Barry Allen saying, "Here is the grab." He grabs him because he finally remembers who he is. At first, he does not, and we get this really, really cool shot that everyone has shown, everyone has seen, I believe, of Barry Allen hugging Wally West, saying, "How could I ever forget you?" And, you know, they're even crying it over there. And, you know, what's really cool is they even go back right here to the very first appearance of Wally West in Flash 110 in 1960, where he actually has a regular Flash costume as opposed to his Kid Flash costume, which he got in Flash 135. So it was really cool that they were able to pay homage to his character by the different characters they brought in, the different suits, all the different things. I don't know. I honestly still feel it is the best single issue comic book that there is. What does this person say? I think it might be interesting for Wally. It could be a very good story. What are we talking about?
He was talking about that
the thing that Ryan said the other day, where Wally West is going to be the new Doctor.
The free comic book day.
The Mystery
Gen Zero.
Yep. So that is basically he's going to sit in the Mobius chair next issue of Flash Forward, and the Mobius chair is now endowed with Dr. Manhattan's powers, and so he's going to sit in Flash Forward number 6, and basically he's going to have all of Dr. Manhattan's powers, meaning he could see the past, present, and future all at the same time. Well, he could do that as a Flash by traveling forwards or backwards in time. He was never able to see it all at the same time. And obviously now he's got these crazy different powers that he's going to be getting and Flash Forward 6. So I'm really excited to see what they do with that character after Tom King basically messed them up pretty good in Heroes in Crisis. And that kind of really pissed me off because everyone knows that Wally West is my favorite Flash. So that was a lot of talking on DC Rebirth. Ryan, do you have anything you want to add about that book? Overall thoughts on Wally and the DC Rebirth brand or anything?
No, I mean, for me, I knew that because this is like a 4-year-old book, roughly going on 4. So I knew that Dr. Manhattan like tied into this story and this reboot. So I whenever I opened it, I didn't know that it was all like Wally West and stuff. So like that clock page you were showing at the beginning there, I assumed that we were reading Dr. Manhattan narrating. So it wasn't until Wally shows up in the Batcave there on like page 4 or whatever, they were like, oh, okay, that makes sense that it was all yellow and red boxes, you know? But yeah, a lot of the pages you showed, I mean, that stuff was amazing. Whenever Barry pulls him out, because I really thought he was going to get to Linda Park and she was going to remember him, and when she didn't, it kind of broke my heart too, you know? And then I was like, no, he is going to like just dissolve into the Speed Force, you know? And then whenever Barry does remember him and pulls him back, because they set that up so well too. Like I was like, no, he's for sure gone now, you know? And then at that last moment, he grabs him, and I was like, oh, that's such a feel-good moment, you know? And that's me coming at it from like, you know, I've read maybe like 2 or 3 DC books ever. So for me to get that much like emotional trade out of a single book, I mean, that's good writing. That's powerful, you know? But yeah, like you were showing, I mean, a lot of the yellow and red stuff, like that scene where Barry's there and you see Wally actually like dissolving into the Time Force and everything, and they use like the whole width of the page. I mean, they're standing like over here, and then all of this behind Wally is just all yellow energy. You know, it just really gives the impression and the impact of like what the Speed Force is and what's really going on there. Yeah, like that stuff is just gorgeous, you know, like it really gives a lot of impact and depth to everything. So yeah, like I said, I think it was a really great issue. They kind of like, you know, cameo a lot of characters there and let us know what's going on in the universe. And that to me is what a solid reboot should do. It shouldn't give you like, oh, this is where it's all going. But, you know, it did a great job of showing us where they're at so that they can have basically a jumping off point from there for every book coming out of it.
Is this a one shot, or was it just the beginning of a whole series, or?
It was a one shot for the entire DC line. And then after this, every single title at some point or another got its own one shot. Well, almost all of them. Like Shazam didn't start coming out until like last year or at the end of 2018. But like a lot of the other ones, you know, we had obviously Batman, Flash, Green Lantern, Green Arrow.
They all had their individual.
They all had their own individual. So there was Flash Rebirth, and then there was Flash Rebirth 1 and then 2 and 3. So they all got one-shots as well, and then their own ongoing series.
Gotcha, okay.
And then it slowly evolved. I will say, as someone who has read a lot of DC Rebirth titles, before I looked at this again and was thinking about it, I was like, man, they really got off course with the whole DC Rebirth line. But they really didn't, because they did end up bringing in, Dr. Manhattan, which is shown here. That's who they're trying to get up here. They did bring that character in finally in the 2-year story in Doomsday Clock. They did obviously do a lot with Wally West in the Titans title. He was trying so hard to get back with Linda Park. Right now, they're not together. But in the series Flash Forward, he is trying to – oh, yeah, nice. He is trying to get back his children that he had with Linda Park. And so that's really interesting to see, because he knows a lot about the past that the other ones still don't know. And a lot of it is basically about how the timeline is ever changing. And in Doomsday Clock, they explained that the timeline is changing, and it's always changing because of Superman, regardless of where he is or what he does or things that happen. Everything happens because of Superman, which I think is cool. And they also talked a lot about the Justice Society of – you don't like that, Ryan?
I'm not a fan of Superman, and they treat him like such a god that I don't
Johnny
know.
Cates didn't.
It rubs me. Yeah, I did love that.
They did talk a lot about they did talk a lot about the Justice Society of America, not only in DC Rebirth, but also in Doomsday Clock. And it looks like finally that's going to be paying off, with Justice Society of America is finally going to get its own title 4 years later, which I think is cool. They were finally paying all that off. But, they showed other characters in there about how, Green Arrow and the Black Canary weren't together yet. But in the first, I want to say 15 to 20 issues of Green Arrow, they finally were getting together, which I think was cool, because they should have already been together, and Wally West knows that, but they didn't know that. And basically the whole thing is him saying, someone's messed with the timeline. I don't know who it is, but it's very, very powerful. Obviously, we find out it's Dr. Manhattan. So
yeah. The very last page of the Rebirth book kind of lets you know that they know that, not that the characters know who's messing with the timeline, because they don't, but it gives the readers the idea of who it is. Yeah.
With the button right there, which is actually a storyline as well that they did with Batman and the Flash in Batman 21 and 22 and Flash 21 and 22. It was called the Button storyline. We were trying to investigate more about that, and they actually went to the Flashpoint timeline where Batman finally got to meet his dad. And actually, Tom King brought in Batman's dad from the Flashpoint timeline, who was Batman in his timeline where Bruce Wayne died. And they did bring him in as well later into the Batman stories. I talked a lot about this. Amazing story. Apologize for taking over this whole thing. We're almost been under 30 minutes.
Oh, no. Dude, it's an 86-page story. We could talk forever more. There's so much stuff we haven't even touched on in that story. Yeah, it is an 86-page one-shot. So, but it's one straight story. They do divide it into like 4 story arcs, and that's really cool, because the story arcs are like tragedy and loss and stuff. So there is a theme to each like section of the book, but it just tells like one story all the way across.
Gotcha.
I will say this. Jeff Johns knew what he was doing with Wally West, because in this cover here, obviously you see the Dr. Manhattan like blue lightning behind him, and obviously he's a Flash, so he's going to have lightning. But it's been revealed, obviously, in Justice League 50 for the New 52 that Dr. Manhattan, his powers are in the Mobius chair. And that issue was also written by Jeff Johns. So I think he knew what he was doing with that, and saying, hey, at some point we're going to have to do something with the Mobius chair and Wally West. And finally that is being used by Scott Lobdell, I believe, is a writer in Flash Forward. So obviously they're going to be using that in the upcoming series.
Yeah. He's definitely an architect in the same style as like Kevin Feige, you know, like
Yeah,
he knows what the whole thing needs to be, and I think he just I don't know. Comics are a different medium, so it's a little harder to hand that off to other creators and get them to stick within your vision. But I do see Jeff Johns as being like an architect in that same style. Like he can build a universe in that way.
I think that Jeff Johns, in my opinion, is the best DC writer. And then Scott Snyder is right behind him. I think those are the two best, in my opinion, at DC. I don't know about overall, but those are my two favorites. Dollar Bin Fodder says, who needs to read their books when you have Berkfamily54comics to tell us the whole story for us? Well, I apologize if I spoiled it for you. It is a 3.5 to 4-year-old story, and not like others who post it online the day the book comes out and doing it. I'm not going to say names, but someone has done that before. Okay, amazing story. I give it a 10 out of 10 as well. Ryan's a 10 out of 10. Let me know in the comments here in the chat, what did you guys think of DC Universe Rebirth, and what did you guys think of the Rebirth titles as we move on to our next book? Should we talk Power Rangers now, or should we talk Vader?
I vote for Vader, so we can save Power Rangers for the end.
Okay, I actually just got done reading Vader, and
Yeah.
I'm going to give quick thoughts on it. This is spoiler review, even though the book came out yesterday. So if you've not read it, maybe tune out for now.
Yeah, mute your ears.
But basically, it follows a lot of the same stuff that's happened, and I think it's episode 5, which is not A New Hope.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back.
Picks up right after Empire.
Right after that, when basically Luke gets his arm cut off by Vader, and Vader reveals himself to be Luke's dad. So Dustin was a big fan of this book. He was putting all of the Instagram that he really liked it. So Dustin, why don't you go ahead and lead us off with your thoughts on the book?
So when we say it picked up after Empire, this I mean it was super cool. It picked up during Empire, and you get the whole last few scenes where they're fighting, and he cuts off Luke's arm and reveals that he is his father, and it was super cool. When I was reading this, I actually went on YouTube and looked this scene up, and they literally, it looks like they took the actual script from the movie and used it in the book. I mean, you can literally play these scenes and it will read this comic book to you. So that is so cool. But yeah, it picked up right there at the end of Empire, and then it goes on into its own story. And you get Vader, who is just, at this point, he's ticked off because Luke refused to join him, and he just jumps on a ship by himself, and he's out. He's going to look for Luke, and he ends up getting his own robot that tags along, and he sets the robot to be able to self-destruct if he ever tells anybody what he sees, hears, anything that goes on with their journey that they're starting on. And so him and Vader are going to Tatooine, and Vader starts getting these flashbacks as they're going through where Luke grew up, and he's seeing the similarities between him as a child and Luke as a child with their love for droids and working with tools. It's like he touches the tools and then he gets these flashbacks. And, it's really cool that they chose to pair him up with a droid, considering Anakin's love for C-3PO. So it's kind of like a throwing back to that. And the relationship between the two is really humorous because, the droid is, he understands what Vader is, but at the same time, he kind of talks to Vader in a way that nobody else is going to. And, you really get to see so many instances of just crazy raw power of Vader, like where he finds the graves of Luke's family, and he's just blowing the dirt away with, using the Force and just blowing the dirt away and uncovering these gravestones. And, it was super, super cool to see some of that stuff. There was the scene where these guys thought they were going to come and blow up this ship that they didn't know Vader was on, but they said, there's a lot of us and there's only 2 life forms on this ship. We can take them. And, Vader, he pretty much blows them up and then walks straight out the fire. I mean, that was probably one of the coolest panels in this whole story until we get to. And then, okay, so here, this was kind of a cool splash page here, or half a splash page with Vader and his droid just walking away from all this carnage that he just calls behind him. And, you start seeing flashbacks of, him losing Luke and, the way he lost Padme. And you start seeing they pull all these similarities between those 2 stories, and Vader constantly losing the ones he loves and him constantly being in pain. They almost make Vader someone who you can sympathize with in this story. They're almost making Vader seem like a hero, like the hero. He's the person you're cheering for. He's going around tearing all this stuff up, killing all these people, just destroying everything, and you're just cheering him along the whole way. So you're going through the story here, and then you get to this the place where Padme lived, and they had sealed it off. And of course, he walks up and just splits the tomb in half. It's not really a tomb, but it's her old apartment, they said. And then someone breaks in with the whole infantry behind him. And who is it? Oh yes, Jar Jar Binks is back. So that was super cool. I really enjoyed that. And I won't spoil the very last part of it, but I enjoyed getting to watch Vader just tear people up, tear stuff up, cause all this destruction. And, like I said, the interaction with the droid, all the flashbacks and seeing the similarities between, him losing Luke and losing Padme and, losing his mother. All that is brought into this story. So it was cool that they brought in, different scenes from different movies, while also telling a new story in the process. So I think of myself as a casual Star Wars fan, but I had to pick this up, and I almost didn't, but I did anyway, and I'm so glad I did, because I'm definitely adding this to the pull list.
I thought it was great. I thought it was really good. Ryan, you want to give your thoughts on it?
Yeah. Like Dustin, I'm kind of a casual. In fact, Star Wars to me is episodes 4, 5, and 6, and Rogue One. I hate the prequels. I have not even seen the last Star Wars movie yet. I haven't seen Solo. So what I have to say is probably going to get some hatred. But this whole thing, it was really cool because it was just emotional beat after emotional beat. And it almost felt like there was almost no narrative. It was just kind of fan servicey. But those pages, probably my favorite panels whenever Vader clears the graves, and he just forces all the sand and everything away. That was so cool, and there's a ton of great scenes. And then I kind of agree, that last page will absolutely knock your socks off, but I don't want to spoil it because give everybody a week, but once you get to that last page, it actually does make the whole narrative make sense. They're showing all of the different most incredibly emotional moments that Vader has went through to lead up to that very last page. So yeah, I thought this was a cool book the whole time. I was like, this feels just kind of fan servicey. And then once I saw that last page, I was like, oh no, this book is actually really good. Yeah, I mean, it's just a really cool story. And it kind of reminds me of Infinity War, like Dustin was saying, in the sense, Vader is the bad guy, but he kind of feels like the hero in this, and you are rooting for him to just walk away from, a starship blast, and he just walks right out of the fire and kills everybody, and you're like, yeah, that's what I wanted to happen right here. So, yeah, I'm vaguely familiar with, I think Greg Peck wrote this, right? I'm vaguely familiar with his writing, and yeah, this held up to all the other quality standards he's presented before. So it's a good book. I suggest it.
Sorry, go ahead.
You haven't seen episode 1, 2, and 3? Shame on you. Those are my favorite ones. That's why I think
I have seen 1, 2, and 3. And I've seen 7 and 8, and after 8, I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
I have not seen 9. Yeah, I haven't seen 9.
My favorite one is Revenge of the Sith. Episode 3 was my favorite one. But I mean, I've probably seen episode 1 of Phantom Menace more times than any of them. I mean, because I think that was the first Star Wars movie I ever saw, and I loved it. But I loved Revenge.
I was 11, and I begged my dad to take me to see that in theaters, and I asked him to leave after the pod racing scene. It was so bad.
What? I love the pod racing. That was my favorite. I loved it. I loved it. Those are my favorite ones.
All except for the newest one. You know, I thought Ryan brought up a good point, and this is something that's really good just in comic books in general. The writers do a really good job of making you like a character, whether or not they're good or bad, and they do that a lot with just like different characters, whether it's, you know, Shredder in Hell or Darth Vader, whoever it is. A Joker book, like at some point, like the writers are good enough that they can make the reader like the bad guy just as much as they like the good guy. And I really liked the book because it obviously showed, you know, like the emotional human side of Darth Vader, which you don't ever see really in the movies. They did show like a flashback of him as Hayden Christensen, I think is his name, back when him and Padme were getting together, which I thought was cool because, you know, they were showing stuff from the movies and all that stuff. I Kick Ass Dude says, I love those Star Wars. You get the sense of why he turned into Vader. Yes, I agree. They kind of warped Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion, a little bit. They did show Emperor Palpatine, I believe, on like issue, like page 6 or something like that.
Yep.
Which I thought was cool. And they're basically Palpatine's looking for him, and they just said he was unavailable, and he was kind of confused by that. But, you know, I thought it was also cool, like Ryan said and you guys said, about how Dustin said, we're about how he destroys that that ship, just walks right through it like it's nothing because he's just a badass dude. And, you know, the Force does help him when he touches different things. Because I don't know if you noticed it, but he was touching things, and that's how he was able to see the past from Luke's family and everyone that lived there.
Yeah.
Tatooine or whatever, however you want to say it. Which I thought it was cool. They were using scenes from the movie plus now to create a brand new story that helps interlink the movies and the comics, which I thought was really, really good. So, yeah, I thought it was good. I don't recall what happens at the end of the book because when I was reading it online, it kind of just stopped after a certain page. So hopefully you guys can fill me in there once we get off here.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't see the last page? What? That makes the whole book worth reading.
I didn't. It didn't show me.
Jar Jar Binks showing up makes the book worth reading. Come on now.
No.
I was so pumped when I saw Jar Jar bust in there, guns blazing.
Didn't he die? I thought they brought him in there just to kill him.
I don't think so.
Oh, I hope so.
Empire Strikes Back, number 1. The Empire Strikes Back is number 1 for One God Tank. Southern Comic Geek says, with what Disney did to Star Wars, they could fan service for 20 years and not make up for it. I've seen them all in theaters since they came out in 1977. Nice.
Appropriate name, then. That is very appropriate.
And I thought Kylo Ren was going to be my favorite. I'm only reading this one in Kylo, and I thought Kylo Ren was really, really good, and it is. But I think if I had to pick between one of these two books, this or Kylo to read, I'm going to stick with Darth Vader. But I'm gonna try to stick with both of them though, because Kylo's been really, really good too.
Mark the Cuddy Sark. We have not talked about Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles episode 3 yet. We started off with DC Universe Rebirth, which is 3.5 years old, and then we started talking about Vader and Power Rangers TMNT is coming up here in about another minute or two.
Yeah, you made it just in time, Mark. He's been giving me so much crap about my Power Rangers books.
Is there anything you guys want to add on Darth Vader, number 1, before we move on?
No. Like I said, I think if you are into Star Wars, if you're into Darth Vader, this book is a lot of really great fan service. But then that last page, again, that last page really makes the whole issue worth reading.
I give it a 10.
Wow. Wow. All right.
I'll give it an 8.5.
Without seeing the last page, I'm going to give it a 7. 6 or a 7. Okay. All right. We have arrived at our favorite book that we always like talking about because we're all Power Ranger guys. We are at
I don't know. I might be a Darth Vader guy now.
Power Rangers TMNT Book 3.
We can't show the same cover now.
Shout out to Ryan for not giving in and getting any of the helmet variants this week.
Me too.
What was your reason for that again?
Well, I mean, my theory is if they're putting out 4 helmet variants for every book, in the future, if this book were to get hot, like, not that I'm saying I'm trying to sell these books, like, as a collector, I think it's going to be easier to find all the helmets later down the road as I'm trying to still collect them versus something like, the Virgin variant. That's going to become rare quicker. And so to get this one in the future, it's probably going to cost me way more money than collecting all those helmets,
Well, if you ever do decide to try to collect them all, I know a guy.
Yeah, right. Someone said they had a 2.5-inch stack of all the books that came, just Power Rangers TMNT that came out yesterday. And someone said they felt guilty about it. And I'm not going to name names, but it was one of us 3.
I feel guilty about it. I didn't even buy them all.
Oh, they were awesome though. I mean, they were really cool. I showed every one of them in the video, and there was one cover, and they actually used it for 2 that I was not a fan of. But like I said, I bought them anyway. Why? But my local comic shop, I'll give them credit though. Those guys, they really did me a solid on them yesterday for sure.
Let's say something really quick to One God Tank. He says, I'm about to dive headfirst into Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TMNT tomorrow for the first time. My LCS is holding them for me. Look what you guys did, is what he said. I'm going to say this. I think that this series is probably my favorite all-time miniseries. And I have a lot. I have Batman Dark Knight Returns. I have Kingdom Come, Batman TMNT. I got a ton of miniseries. And I think this one, obviously, I'm going to like it the most because I love those characters the most. But I feel like it's been written really, really, really well. The art could be a little bit better, but the art of the Power Rangers is great, just out of the Turtles. Overall, the writing has been fantastic. And One God Tank, I think that you are going to love it. And you may not be a Power Ranger fan, but I think you're going to absolutely love it.
I think if you are a fan of Power Rangers or Ninja Turtles, either one, not even necessarily both, you will love this book just for the banter alone. Like, the voices are so spot on. Especially, I felt like in this 3rd issue, the Turtles really had some great lines in here. And so for me, like, that's a big part of it. Like, the writing's great as far as, like, the story and all the reveals and stuff. But and the art, it's good, but it does, like, leave some to be desired occasionally. But the banter between the characters, even if you just like Turtles or Power Rangers, it's great. Like, all the voices put on.
Okay, should we talk spoiler review of this? This is a spoiler review. So One God Tank, if you don't want to hear anything about this, now might be the time to jump out of the chat, because we're going to talk about what happens in the book, our thoughts on it, what we want to see in the final 2 issues.
And I'll say also,
is there anyone that would like to start, or would you guys like me to start talking about it first?
I just wanted to add to what Ryan said real quick about the, to One God Tank. I mean, I honestly, for me with this book, I kind of feel like we said, the Turtles, the art on the Turtles kind of isn't up to par, but I feel like the Turtles part in the storyline is making the book. The characters from the Turtle series is making this book. I feel like the Power Rangers is more of like becoming like an afterthought at this point. I mean, especially after this issue here. But I mean, you think about the fact that Shredder's now the Green Ranger. Tommy went and joined the Foot Clan, so that was a huge deal. And now what we get in this storyline. So I mean, like, if you're not really big of a Power Rangers fan, but you're a huge Turtles fan, like, I still think this book would be a great read for you, because the Turtles are really making the characters from the Turtles is making this book.
Absolutely. Ryan, you still there? Ryan?
I think he's just shocked at what I just said.
Oh, no, he's not moving. Oh, no. What? You there?
Yeah. I
Wake
think
up.
my Wi-Fi messed up.
All right. I'm going to say a few things really quickly about this, and then I'm going to let Ryan, who's a really, really good reviewer, talk about this book. I'm going to say I think it was the weakest book of the three so far. I still thought it was really good, but overall, I think issue 2 was the best so far, then issue 1, and then issue 3. If I had to rank them, I just didn't feel like there was just a lot that happened in it outside of Rita and Shredder fighting, which you couldn't even tell, like, in my opinion, what was really even happening. There's just a lot of blasts going everywhere, and they're like, oh, you're the best person I've ever fought ever, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, there is a tiny little panel in there at one point that I had to like look at extremely close to realize what was actually happening in that fight.
Yeah.
I think it's like page 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, right here. Like, I had to get so close to actually be able to see what was going on in that little box. I will say that.
don't think I understood what it was.
It's just Rita and Shredder charging each other.
Okay, yeah. That wasn't the one I was thinking of. I was
Yeah.
thinking the one where, like, you couldn't tell that it was Goldar when he was, like, charging in.
Right.
Yeah. The perspective, DeMayo uses a lot of perspectives that you see in like anime, where the character is like kind of just hovering above the ground, charging forward. And it works well in anime because it's in motion, but it doesn't work so well in static images on the page a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think is interesting, this is kind of a seed that they're planting possibly for either later in this series or in a volume 2. The Shredder says, and I quote, "I have powerful allies in another dimension. In fact, they know much of the Rangers and believe you and I could do great things together."
See, I had no idea. I couldn't even begin to think of who he was talking about, though.
He obviously he's talking about Draken, because Draken's from another dimension. You know what I mean?
You think so?
Oh yeah, 100%.
That would be cool.
What he's talking about. Who else would he know from another?
Well, yeah, my initial thought was Krang and Dimension X, but I did think later, like, unless he's talking about Draken. But I don't know. I do wonder if they're going to introduce Draken in a crossover like this, because that's such a big part of a singular universe, you know?
Absolutely. I do think that they will introduce him. Oh, I want that. You guys both have that, and I want it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go, dude, for life. Yep, you know it's. I didn't really like the way it ended, if I'm being completely honest. How the Power Rangers basically turn into Goldar and they retreat because they have to, because apparently they know that their morphers aren't working. I don't know how that would happen. But then they pretty much give the spoiler here. They give their morphers to the Turtles, and they say, "Man, do we even at least get to pick our colors?" And they're all holding the morphers. So I don't know if that means that they're actually going to morph next book or not. Here, let me put you full screen here, Dustin. But I feel like they are. Can you tell what coin is Leonardo holding?
Billy's.
He's holding Billy's. And what about the other ones?
You can't tell.
You can't tell. So I was going to say,
Can't tell what.
Who anybody else has, whose morpher anybody has but Billy.
I think they're going to try to go by color.
Oh.
So, like, I do think Raphael will be the Red Ranger if they decide to do that. Leonardo will be the Blue Ranger. I think Donnie will be the Black Ranger. And I think Mikey will be the Yellow Ranger because that is the closest to orange.
I'll give my thoughts on that when it's my turn because I got a few ideas too.
Well, then, why don't you go for it, brother?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, so to prelude into that, my favorite part of this book was when we get the introduction of the man with the hockey plan, Casey Jones.
Oh my gosh! I just thought of something, and I think.
Oh my gosh! I was like, Burke's not gonna. I'm gonna get to drop that bomb. I'm so excited.
You're gonna be the Fifth Ranger.
Yeah.
So my thoughts are, if you remember in issue number 1, when they first met on the rooftop, you know, they paired the Rangers up with the Turtles that kind of fit the personalities the best. So I think that's kind of gonna be how it goes. Yeah, I do believe Billy's powers will be given to Leo. I could see Zach's being given to Mikey. I could see Donatello, you know, getting the Yellow Ranger. And honestly, I could see them putting Raph in the pink just to piss him off and throw Casey Jones in the red suit. How cool would that be?
That would be interesting.
Casey Jones in the pink suit or the yellow suit. You just can't. But I could see them throwing Raph in really, I'm pink.
Someone's going to be mad regardless.
Right.
But
I could, you know, and I could see that being kind of like a comedic, you know, relief in the storyline there.
Yeah.
I don't see them not using Casey as a Ranger at this point. Me and Ryan were talking about it earlier today. I mean, why else would they bring him in at this point? You know, but, you know, and I thought about that from the beginning. You know, we've got 4 Turtles, 5 Rangers. We know at some point the Turtles have to morph. Well, there's going to have to be a 5th one somewhere. We know Tommy's out because he's locked in a cage. So I'm like, I always had in the back of my mind, like, they got to bring Casey in. So when I saw him, I'm sitting in my truck at lunch. It's pouring rain. And I'm like, yeah, there he is.
And you knew at that point he was going to be the 5th Ranger before they said.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be. So, you know, and some other thoughts I had on it. I think the best shot, and this, and I've talked about this with the Comics on the Mind. What's up, brother? I've talked about this with some other Thursday night shows we've done with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm not a big anime guy, and I don't really care for the artwork in Mighty Morphin right now. I don't care for the fact that you know, they're kind of drawing and depicting Tommy as like this, you know, just go with the
He's too lanky. He's so thin.
Dude. Huh?
He's lanky. He's so thin.
Like
pencil arms. What is he going to punch?
Right. So I feel like the best shot we got in this issue, as excited as everybody was about the Green Ranger Shredder, the best look that we got at this character was on the cover. You don't get any really good shots of him full length. I mean, everything's so dark or shaded out, you know, and they, you know, it still looks cool, but I mean, really, like, the best shot we get of it is on the cover with the dragon shield. I love the way they did the helmet, but you know, I feel like the way that the art is in this, like, they don't really give us that real full shot. I mean, I guess in issue 2 we got to see it really well, but I was really hoping to be able to get a lot more in this issue from that. And, you know, we just didn't, but I did think it was cool. Like, it seems like Shredder has obtained some extra powers of, you know, stronger powers than what Tommy had with some of the things he was able to do, like strip the Rangers of the ability to morph, you know, you know, basically, you know, separating them from the morphing grid of somehow. So I thought that was cool. But like we talked about writing, I mean, it was kind of like where you just get these little weird shadows and you have to kind of get down there and look and say, okay, that's Goldar right there. But overall, I mean, the story was still good.
Yes, it did come out yesterday, Mine.
Yep.
It did come out
yesterday.
You know, overall, I thought the story was still pretty good, and I'm definitely looking forward to issue 4, and I'm still looking forward to Bebop and Rocksteady. They gotta blow up 100 feet tall. Got to see that.
Make my monsters grow, and then use the what is the name of that turtle? That's a machine.
I forgot.
Crap.
Metalhead.
Yes.
Use Metalhead with that thing to make him their Megazord. I think we're going to see the Megazord and the Turtle Megazord at some point, and I actually think we're going to get 2 sets of Rangers. The Rangers and the Turtle Rangers.
Do you think the Dragon Zord comes out? And if it does,
yes.
If it does, is there, the way that the suit kind of adapted to Shredder, does the Dragon Zord still look like the Dragon Zord? Or is there going to be any kind of different adaptation on it?
Yes, it is, man.
I think it looks the same.
I hope that they keep it the same. I really do.
I think it'll be the same. I do really want to know about, like we were talking about, the other universe though. What's going on with that? Who does the Shredder know? I think it's Draken. You guys said Krang, but would the Krang know who the Power Rangers are? So that makes me think it's got to be Draken.
Possible. Do you think they're going to merge it and maybe Draken is from Dimension X as well as Krang?
Who knows? But I definitely think they are already setting up a volume 2.
Oh yeah.
I hope not.
And why not?
If they do, they can only release cover A's. I swear.
His wallet's saying no. His heart says yes.
Yeah, but my wallet says no. My wife says no.
Hey, are we gonna find out over under 100?
Oh. So we can talk about that off screen.
That's over. It's over.
Would it have paid my rent this month?
Krang said it would be epic. I also agree with that.
I loved it when they did the Batman Ninja Turtles, the way Krang showed up and pulled that together. That was awesome.
Dude, that was epic. That volume 3 was the best.
That was one of the first. That was the first miniseries I ever read. Was Batman Ninja Turtles #3. That and Thanos was the first miniseries I read when I started last year.
Yeah,
I just asked Ryan Parrott on Twitter, how come Tommy always gets sidelined during events? And because obviously in Shattered Grid he got sidelined, Necessary Evil he got sidelined for a while, and now he's sidelined again. And I just like it.
I think he likes having Tommy come in, because that's how it was in the show.
Big reveal.
Yeah, Tommy always came in at in the show, like, the Rangers would go get into trouble, and Tommy comes in, saves everybody,
like Jesus,
slicks that hair back in the ponytail. All right, guys, I'm going to work out. I mean, that's why Tommy's the cool guy, He's in the gym. Yeah. What's that? Oh, they're getting beat up. Give me 5 minutes, man. Let me go save the team.
I have a really big question to ask you guys. Will the Turtles' suits look different like the Green Ranger Shredder does? Will you be able to see their face? Or maybe their bandanas hanging off the side of the helmets? Or will you be able to see their turtle shell in the back? What are you guys' thoughts on how they will look if they do morph next issue?
I don't know. I have been thinking about that since, we got to that point. Well, okay, honestly, in this series, I have not once thought about, like, the Turtles morphing. The whole time, I assumed they were going to stay pretty separate, but just, like, team up in different ways. So, yeah, getting to the end of this, I was like, oh, okay, we are going to go that far. So, I've been thinking about that since I read it, and I really don't know. I think they will look different than regular Rangers, but and maybe that's part of that line, are they still wearing their clothes under there? So are they still going to have their shells? That's a great question. I really don't know, but I think they are going to go for original designs, because that does seem to be one thing that that Parrott and DeMeo and the team at Boom and stuff really like to do, is try to create, like, original characters and properties out of pre-existing things. So I could see them going for, like, completely original designs on this.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, my first thought was the turtles' heads are about 3 times the size of a regular person. So, like, I don't see how you can throw a helmet on that to start with, and then you have the shells to deal with. But anything to cover up all the weird stuff that they put on the turtles, you know, from the bandanas to, you know, Raphael, he's got one knee pad and the other one looks like he's got like a half knee brace or something. I don't know what they were going for with the turtles. I understand wanting to have an original set of turtles and all. But, you know, I think that, you know, and then if you look at the cover, like, you know, the bandanas are all the same, but then you open the book and it's not consistent with what's on the covers. But yeah, I think that it would be cool to see, like, you know, original suits of some sort. You know, maybe they end up just having, like, you know, the gloves or the cufflinks from the gloves or something. I don't see them being in boots either. I mean, look at their freaking feet. You know?
Well, we do have a precedent set for anthropomorphic animals morphing, because there is Doggy Kruger, and he loses his snout in some way whenever he morphs.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to get the turtles, like, bandanas hanging off the helmets, and their weapons will still be able to be seen in the front with the belts. Like, let's say if you're Mikey or Raph, but I do think they will maintain their turtle shell on the back. That'll just be part of their thing. It'll just be extra protection for them. But the rest of it, I believe, will still look like a Power Ranger. But I do not think that they'll get boots or gloves. I think they'll get everything else, and they'll just look like turtle-y Power Rangers, which I think would be pretty sweet. So that's what I'm predicting.
Regardless, I'm sure that Edwin's going to show us the day that it comes out in the middle of the day by lunchtime. So,
I do want to, like, give some credit for the creative team that you know, often gets overlooked. For one thing, man, I hate this reverse stuff. But what's his name? Here we go. Ed Dukeshire does an amazing job on letters, and he has lettered every single Power Ranger comic that's come out. So, awesome job, Ed Dukeshire. I don't think you get the credit you deserve there. Also, for the fact that, you know, we do like Parrot already, and we think he's doing a good job. DeMayo's kind of a mixed bag. Viamonte has killed it on colors on this book. I love the colors on everything that he's done in here, versus like the art and everything else, you know.
Especially on this wildfire panel, the coloring on that is awesome.
Yeah. I think Viamonte is kind of an underappreciated part of this creative team that's been on, like, all the Power Ranger stuff, because his colors to me are always, like, so spot on for everything.
Yeah, it does look really good, the coloring.
I've always thought the Power Rangers in this series have looked fantastic. The colors have just been vibrant. It's looked a lot more like the show than you know what Zack Snyder did to Superman and Batman vs Superman, where it made it all dark. I love that they maintained how, like, childish but also, like, mature the characters are by using a lot of color, but also using a lot of, like, lingo that kids use nowadays. So overall, it's been amazing. It's been my favorite.
I think it's also important to point out, like, Power Rangers is a daytime thing. There is very little, like, nighttime Power Ranger stuff. And then they put them in New York City with the Turtles, and everything in this book pretty much happens at night. And so, like you were saying, like, to be able to maintain the Rangers, like, vibrant colors and stuff without the sunlight necessarily, like, that's incredible for coloring, you know? That's a good job.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're right. Because the ninjas have to move at night.
Out of the shadows.
I think that kind of goes back to when we were talking about issue 1, where the Turtles knew the Rangers, but the Rangers didn't know the Turtles. I don't know if we mentioned that, but I mean, that makes sense, you know, because the Turtles try to keep themselves, the shadows.
They can't be seen. Yeah, they kind of talk about a little bit in the book, and also Boom Room Parrot talked about that too. How like they live within the shadows, so of course the Rangers haven't ever heard of them, but they would have heard of the Rangers. They got giant robots fighting on the West Coast in the middle of the day. Who doesn't know about the Rangers?
I'm tweeting Ryan Parrott again.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well, while he's doing that, I got a big question for you guys. Since Steve wanted to drop a big hammer question on us, I'm gonna drop one on y'all. If you got to pick, which one are you picking? Jelly beans and sausage, or the butterscotch, onions, and anchovies? Which turtle pizza are you guys eating?
What was the question?
I said, which turtle pizza are you gonna eat? Jelly beans and sausage, or the butterscotch, onions, and anchovies?
I'll starve.
I hate jelly beans and I hate anchovies, so that kind of ruins both. But I do like sausage, so
yeah.
I guess I'd rather jelly beans over anchovies.
Probably.
And of course, Zach's like, I don't think I'll ever go back to pepperoni. You should try it.
Yeah, I love that Zach totally like melds into their world, no problem.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna say like one or two more things. We're gonna get out of here because it's some people got to work tomorrow. I don't want Dustin to be going into work late tomorrow and all that stuff. So Dustin, go ahead and give your final thoughts on Power Rangers or Vader or DC or anything that's going on with you and your channel, all that stuff.
All right. So definitely my top pick of the week and my top pick out of what we read tonight is Vader. I'm going to throw that out there. I mean, I know people probably don't expect that from me, but I'm definitely giving Vader the pick of the week for me. It was so solid and so cool for me. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed all the books. Enjoyed hanging out with you guys at night. Always look forward to Thursdays. This is usually the part where me or Nick talk about our 100 subscriber giveaway, and that has come to a close. Thank you to everybody who subscribed to us recently. Congratulations to Mr. Steve for winning one of those slabs. We are going to be dropping an edited video that's going to be kickstarting a series that we've been working on for the last 3 months. Before everybody else started throwing videos out recently on it, like we had already been like working on this, trying to keep it a secret and under wraps, but it's all good. We're going to be starting a new series on collecting for beginners, just where to start, how to get into it. There's going to be opportunity in those videos to, have everyone in the community, the veteran collectors, to really reach out to these new guys and give your advice too. So we're really looking forward to that. That's going to drop this Saturday. So that's the biggest thing we have going right now. And if you watch our 100 subscribers giveaway video that we did earlier tonight, you'll see that we have 3 big guests that we're going to be interviewing soon within the coming months. So be looking forward to that.
Really quickly, before we go to Ryan, I'd show off really quick. Let's see. All right. Is it working? It is. Look what this guy said to me. Ryan Parrott tweeted back. He goes, in third grid, he died. Necessary Evil, a long time he was out for 1 issue, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. TMNT Power Rangers, Green Ranger Shredder, but I try to compensate by making his story the emotional spine of the series. So, you guys have anything else on that?
Hey, that seems like a fair response. I mean,
I'm sorry.
I have trouble keeping Necessary Evil straight, so it's hard to remember how many issues he was gone between that and Go-Go. But, I guess he is doing the emotional heavy lifting of this series, so seems like a fair response.
And in Mighty Morphin, the Shattered Grid, that was Kyle Higgins writing that one, so you can't really fault Parrott for that one. But man, he seemed to have gotten a little testy, didn't he?
No, I don't think so.
But like I said, I think it ties into the whole thing where Tommy's always been the one to come back and be the hero and make the big save. So, it just, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yep. New guy. you got anything you want to say about any of these books or anything with you?
Yeah, well, I mean, let me start by saying I do agree with you on the order of these books, the TMNT PR crossover. But I also think that 3 has been the weakest issue just because, you know, it felt like it was setting up a lot of like big, exciting things to happen in the like last 2 to set up a big finale for all that. So, yeah, it did feel like the slowest, but I also think it's going to bounce back from this in a pretty big way. As far as the 3 books we read this week, I would say DC was my favorite, you know, because, I mean, I've already read that and gave my review, and I just thought that was a really solid story. But as far as me, check me out on Instagram. I kind of dove head first in the shallow end of the pool on The Flash. So I've been putting up reviews on that every day. So, yeah, check me out on Instagram. I'm working on getting through all of the Flash Rebirth stuff and finding out what happened to lead up to that super exciting conclusion at the end of Flash 86. And then I'm also working on a video this weekend in collaboration with A2 Geeks on Instagram and YouTube and everything. So I'm not sure when that video will actually come out, but I'm excited for what's coming up in the future. And as always, I do love the Thursday night chats with you guys.
Awesome. I will say that we're going to have a live comic book sale on my channel on Saturday. We haven't worked out the time yet, but Dustin's going to join on here. We're going to try to sell some books, get us some money back, use on other things. And I do want to show off really quickly something that I'm going to be making a video on this weekend that I got from my car, which is a 2015 Subaru WRX. I got a vortex generator, carbon fiber. It's pretty sweet. And this is going to go on the roof of my car and make it look cool, I think. But yeah, that's all I pretty much have.
Steve Burt going to be in Fast 10. Watch out, ladies.
I do want to get some rims for my car this year. That'd be pretty sweet. But yeah, we're going to do a live sale on Saturday. I still need to make my video. I have a spec video I'm going to make on Hulk 181.
Second appearance Wolverine.
That is the first appearance Wolverine. Yeah, so I think that'll be cool. I do want to say that this book that we did talk about tonight, Power Rangers TMNT number 3, this is the first full appearance of the Green Ranger Shredder. So that's pretty cool, even though I didn't really do anything. This is his first full appearance. Well, he made his first appearance in last issue. So I've really enjoyed the series. I think it's the best miniseries that I've read or that's out there right now. And I really like you guys always joining me to talk about these books on my channel every week. I do appreciate also winning your 100 subscriber giveaway. Can't wait to get that slab in the mail. Oh, man, dude, we are just about packing up and headed home for the night.
What's up, man?
Subi, I love Subarus. Hell yeah. Mine is a 6-speed. Had it for about 5 months. Absolutely love it. Yeah,
we gotta come up with a name.
Oh, you drive manual?
What's that?
We gotta come up with a name for us.
It is. Yeah, it's a stick. Of course, it's a stick. I said it's a 6-speed.
Yeah. I drive standard also, but nobody I know in like anywhere drives standard. So hey, that's another thing in common.
I drove one up until last year. Jumped back into a full size pickup.
All right, that's all we have for this week. Thank you, Dustin and Ryan, for joining us. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for joining us. There's so many people I couldn't even say everyone's names, but thank you guys for joining us tonight. We had a lot of fun talking Power Rangers TMNT 3, Vader, and DC Universe Rebirth. I did put a link to the 2BrothersComics YouTube in the description, along with a link to their Instagram and then a link to Ryan's Instagram as well. If you're not following either one of them, please make sure you do so. They're awesome guys. Dustin's going to say something real quick, and then I'm going to say something. So he's going to say...
All right, guys. Appreciate you guys watching and hanging out. Just remember, every Thursday night we're going to be here unless something prevents that from happening. But enjoyed everything tonight. Enjoyed going over these books. Hope to see you guys next week. And as always, collect your way.
Ryan, you got anything last minute you want to say?
No, just I appreciate all the viewers, and yeah, check me out on Instagram and learn about the Flash as I do as well.
Boom. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Again, this is Berkfamily54comics. I am Steve. Thank you to 2Brothers and Ryan for joining us tonight. And remember, go Cats, go Chiefs, Super Bowl champs. Woo!